up, beautiful soul family, and welcome to another edition of Winning Wednesday Live with me, Lona C, and all of you. Today, we're going to talk about a subject that probably will plague our lives from here to eternity. But we can absolutely transcend and alchemize worry once we truly understand what it is and really how to do that whole alchemization process. Now, I realize maybe those are words we don't often hear in the recovery community, and I get it. What does this have to do with recovery? Since we're not using language that's generally heard in the recovery community, I want to challenge you to open your heart and mind to embrace something new, because it's not like the old ways are working for everybody. And if you are here and come here often, it might not be working so much for you, or it is and you're just looking for a little something extra because you want to go deeper. And that's what I'm here for. And I love being here with you, and I'm so honestly grateful. But we are going to talk about those odd words, and we're going to talk about what they actually mean in your life. You know, my mission is really stated pretty simply, but it's not a simple process. I feel like my born divine mission is to help lessen the suffering of the recovery process. Now, let's understand this too. Recovery just doesn't mean from substance. It means a full life recovery. And so that's what we're going to talk about in this video today. We're going to talk about worry, what it actually is, how to transcend and alchemize it so that you can live your best life. So if you feel led, then go ahead and share this video out. Of course, I'm having a few tech problems this morning, and I'm going to share out as well. So you guys just give me a second, and let's go ahead and share our live stream out, and maybe get some folks here that doesn't really know we're here. And yeah, there it is. There it is. So I really hope everybody is having a great week. And what I really hope is, if you don't seem to be having a great week, that you alchemize it to be a great week. So just while we're sitting here talking, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what alchemy is. And really, basically, what it means in a very simple form is to take something that presents as a negative, turn it into a learning experience, and now make it a positive in your life, which that's what the recovery process in my world is. You know, we've lived enough in the past in the regret of who we were and mistakes we've made and people we've hurt and all the things we've ruined. And why live there? How can we ever expect to get better if we keep one foot in that camp and the other foot in trying to move forward? It just doesn't work out. And so what we can learn to do is to alchemize those bad experiences, everything that we've been through in our lives, and we can learn how to now make this our platform for success in every area. Because what do we know? We know that we learn more in the hard times, in the struggle times, than we ever do in those good times. Because what's happening in the good times? We're supposed to be enjoying ourselves. We're supposed to be building our gratitude. I believe that every single thing that goes on in our world is for a learning experience. We are a spiritual being having a human experience. And how do we miss the boat if we continuously escape from those human experiences? And that's what we're doing in active addiction. We are escaping from those feelings, those emotions, those human experiences that we have. And really, that has everything to do with part of the mission that we are here for. And I saw something and I shared it out, but I saw something yesterday that really spoke to me, that we often go out looking for our purpose, And in the worry of us not finding it, we really miss by a mile what purpose truly is. And the purpose truly is that we are here to have this beautiful human experience, to really connect with other human beings. So I've done about all the shares that I can do because I'm really wanting to get into this with y'all, and I can't see your comments yet. So if y'all are ready to kick off this Winning Wednesday, I am absolutely ready. So let's go. Good morning, soul family, beautiful warriors. Man, I love you guys so much. You make it so good to wake up and come here every Wednesday morning. Good morning, Noah. Thank you for catching the replay, and thank you for actually saying that, because I never knew that either, that you can type replay in the beginning of a video to let somebody know. So I appreciate that, man. Good morning, Alicia Lee. What's up, Stephanie Wagner? And what's up, Jessica? I tried to share over to your page, but I don't think that I have it right in my lineup here. It's so funny the things that I have transcended, digitally and technology wise, and yet the places that I'm still stuck. So that's one of them. And I love you, Jessica. I love all of you. You all really make it worth getting and continuing to do this, because again, it's not necessarily about numbers at this point. It's really about having y'all catch the fire and spread it through your world and your communities, because everybody's going through this. Everybody deals with worry. And I want to read you something that is absolutely just will sum up what this whole video is about. And I love the way things turn out, because I do my mornings, I watch the sun come up this morning, and I really think about what's the most prevalent thing to give to this soul family this morning. And I had come on to worry, because worry is something that I'm going through in my life, and it's something I'm transcending right now. It's something I'm alchemizing right now, and I always want to share that with all of you, so that we always have that personal connection, because oftentimes we're going through a lot of the same. So I came back in, and this was my quote for the day. It says, "For every pleasing thing, there is an unpleasing counterpart. For within every particle of the universe is that which is wanted, as well as the lack of that which is wanted. When you focus upon an unwanted aspect of something in an effort to push it away from you, it only comes closer, because you get what you give your attention to, whether it is something that you want or not. It is up to you to focus upon and attract what is wanted." Let me reiterate this, because it goes right along with what we are talking about. Because you get what you give your attention to, whether it is something that you want or not. So what is worry? Worry is us focusing our attention on what we hope doesn't happen, what we are really afraid is going to happen. And how many times have we done that in our lives, and yet find ourselves every time right up against what we don't want to happen? Worry can be translated into other disorders like anxiety, depression. We can be so fixated and on what we hope doesn't happen, and we don't know what we don't know, right? So we haven't heard this information a whole lot in our lives. We go instinctually how the brain is designed, and the brain is designed to keep us safe. It's to keep us in the cave so we don't get eaten or run over by dinosaurs. That's how primitive our brains still are. That's why we live on the edge so much, and we're always trying to outrun or pre-think about that which we're scared of, but we always find that those things come to us anyway. And it's because we're just built that way. We're just built that way. And I believe that that is the starting point for change. Understanding where we are, becoming aware of where we are is the only way for us to go into a different direction. It's the only way for us to begin to take steps in a direction that we truly want. Now, is it going to be easy to retrain your primitive brain to now leave worry and refocus? Probably not. You've been doing this like subconsciously all your life, but it can be done. And it will not take you, forever and ever and ever to do it. But we've got to start somewhere. And I believe where we have to start is realizing, number one, it's not the disorder that's driving you. It is not, how do you say this? Let's just say that it is not the disorder that is driving you. It is the primitive brain that's driving you. And so let's wake up today and realize, oh, I'm not some kind of failure. I don't have a broken brain. I have a primitive brain. And because I have not exercised my power of choice up until this moment, this is just what it is. This is how my brain runs on autopilot. It goes out and helps me look out for what could happen, not what will happen. But then often that focus brings it right. We've all heard that saying, what you fear the most always comes upon us. I cannot tell you guys and ladies how long my biggest fear was to go to prison. Oh my gosh. I love you, Noah. Man, I love you. I love JD too. Thank you for that. But I was so afraid of going to jail, going to prison, that I would do anything and everything. And I bet some folks in here now or the replay are going to hear me when I say this, that every court date I had, I would just run from. I could not go to court and risk my greatest fear happening. And yet at the same time, by not showing up, I was ensuring myself that my greatest fear was going to come upon me. And it was inevitable once I got there, that once I got to the place that I was so afraid of, that I realized, oh my gosh, if I would have just went to court, I would not be here. And yet my brain had been so trained to focus solely upon that fear that I was a no-show, no-show, no-show. I had so many failure to appears, man, that it, again, it was inevitable. I was running myself straight towards the thing that I was most afraid of. And that's what we do. We do that unknowingly. I've been going through that in my life. And look, this is something that I know at this point. This is something I practice every day, because let me tell you, we all vibrate. That's why we hear these things like your vibe attracts your tribe, and you keep, dating that same person over and over and over and over, or you keep, keep stepping in that same mud hole of life every single time. That's what that whole vibration is. Because when we are connected with the vibration of what we do not want by staring at the fear of what may or may not happen, then there's no choice. but to pull that from us. If you drop something from the top floor of this house, it's going to fall to the place that it can land. It doesn't say, oh, Elsie, you didn't mean to drop this, so I'm going to hold it up here for you to rethink it. It's the law of gravity. It's the law of gravity. It doesn't decide what you wanted to drop and what you didn't want to drop. You went in the motion, you let it go, you knocked it off, and it is within the law. It hits the ground no matter what. That's the same thing with that law of vibration. And where our thoughts go, our energy flows. And if we are consistently and constantly connected with the worry thought of, I don't want this to happen, what we are saying is, this is what I want to happen. Now, I hear what you're saying in your mind. What happens if I change all that and then what I didn't want comes anyway? Well, that's an amazing question, and I really want to answer that. Some things are meant for us to learn from. And sometimes just because we work on our energy and we work on our speech and we work on our mindset, there is also the law of sowing and reaping. Now, this trips a lot of people in new recovery up because they will turn their lives around and do everything they're supposed to do and all that great stuff. They'll do all that, and then all of that stuff from the past still comes and overruns them, and it usually ends up happening just in the moment that somebody's really starting to get it. And it's that time where people often, and I've been guilty of this too, so I say this from experience, it's in our new stages where we go, you see, I'm trying to do the right thing, I'm doing the right thing, and what's it getting me? Well, we fail to realize that we still have things in motion, and those things in motion have to come and complete the cycle. So if you change your vibration and thought processes today, it doesn't mean that the stuff that you put out there yesterday, a month ago, still is not already in motion. I mean, I like the analogy of, you think of, something rolling downhill. You can't decide in the middle of that, oh, I didn't mean to push that rock or that boulder downhill, and say, stop, I want you to go another way, and do that. The momentum of that is already rolling downhill. So we just got to tough up, and know that it's going to come through. But what we do when we get into a place of me and transcendence is we understand that. We realize that, and we use it as an opportunity to really change even deeper. See, when we start giving things and happenings in our lives, when we start giving them meaning, the suffering starts to fade away. It doesn't mean that you're never going to feel a contrasting moment, because what do we know also? In order for us to see light, there must be darkness. In order for us to become grateful, we must know a bit of sorrow. For us to truly understand what happiness is, we have to experience total destruction. This is what I believe the key of the recovery community, and how we can really change the vibration of the entire human population, is that we should be the ones that understand that the most. And we are. We're getting it. We are getting it. We have to know that contrast has to be, in order for us to know what it is we truly desire. We have to know what it is we truly want. There were so many times when I believed that part of my life purpose was to be a one-on-one coach and mentor. And I had to do that a little bit to understand that that really wasn't where my strong suit was. I'm more of a group sage, if you will. But there are beautiful people in our midst that know without a shadow of a doubt that personal coaching, mentoring, sponsorship, teaching, That's their deal. And I love that because we all have to be different in order for us to create and to be common together. Good morning, Danielle. And so, knowing that means that we have got to understand that we are going to experience times in our lives and our recovery where we're going to feel those human emotions and we're going to feel them. And it's not always going to be smiles and laughter and happy. We're going to have to go into those places sometimes, but we're not going in alone. And that's what we got to understand. You're going in with new skills that says, yes, I am feeling this. And I can allow myself to feel this without picking up something to numb it out because I realize there's a purpose in me feeling this now. It's uncomfortable and I'm going to sit in it. I'm not going to waller in it. That's a Southern word, by the way. I'm not going to waller around in it and stay here, but I'm going to acknowledge it and I'm going to listen to what my true inner self, because that's who is feeling all that stuff. I want to listen to what they're saying because generally, when we are triggered by something, it is an opening into a wound that has not yet been healed. And if we take that opportunity to open that door, not trigger it, not want everybody around us to stop triggering us, but if we will take a moment to come into communion with that trigger and that wound that is behind that trigger, we can realize that we're not being triggered to suffer or be tortured. We're being triggered because we're on a healing journey. And without those triggers, we cannot see what is still unhealed within. And it gives us a beautiful moment. And you know what? I really want to say in this moment, connected with this very statement, that here is where your counselors and your therapists and your doctors and your people and your programs and your sponsors and your friends, your support system, here's where they really become useful in this time. Because in the beginning, I don't think people should try to navigate through these things all by themselves. I did a lot of that in the beginning, but it also led me to this. And I now know that so many of those white knuckling moments in the very early stages of my recovery was because it gives me a wonderful firsthand personal connection and knowledge to be able to tell you that, you're going to have some times where you white knuckle. And those are times that is just meant there to test your tools. But other times, don't suffer in silence because it's what you're used to. Don't suffer in silence because you're afraid to get vulnerable. Don't suffer in silence because you don't want to bother people or you don't want to be a burden, and listen, if you get vulnerable and somebody shuts you down, don't let that be that old story pop up and say, see, I'll never get vulnerable again. That just wasn't the right place for that information. Keep going until you find the place where that is supposed to be. What's up, Sam? So find that place where that's supposed to be. Because I'm telling you, that primitive brain is going to want you to shut down. It will almost drive you to the place when you're starting to practice vulnerability, you will subconsciously be driven to the door that's going to shut in your face just so that primitive brain can say, see, we'll never do it again. Put the walls back up, lock the doors, build them thicker. We're staying behind here. But when we stay behind there, we miss beautiful connections. We miss fully enveloping our divine job, if you will, here on earth. I would say considered early recovery, Steph, my own personal experience and my own life, I would really consider within those 2 years being still early recovery, because you're learning so much. You're still going through in conscious recovery. I really do. It's about year 3 that you have really worked on all those processes, and you've worked on really transcending a lot of these triggers, that you've worked on really getting down to those root causes, and trying to heal a lot of those roots. That year 3 starts to bring you into more, vibration, thought process. It starts to bring you into a place where you can, 2 years and 4 months. Don't say but on MAT. You're rocking MAT. MAT is perfectly good, man. MAT is only used for the body. You heal the brain. Don't ever put yourself down for that, my friend. I'm sorry that we have a negative stigma surrounding MAT, but I'm going to tell you, I'll do everything in my power and yell as loud as I can every day that I'm alive to break that negative stigma. You learn to use that medication like you would use a heart medication, a diabetes medication. It's when the medication runs our lives. It's when we're not working on here and here that we trade one for the other. But when we do purpose that medication to be, this is to keep my body stabilized so that I can work on my head and my heart, that's when we have transcended that negative stigma. And it's never going to be, there's always going to be people with a different mindset about it, but don't let their mindset influence your mindset. If you're doing the right thing and you know that it's helping you, man, stand proud and strut like a rooster, my friend, because you're rocking it. Happy 288 days, Stephanie Wagner. So proud of you both. Two of my greatest folks that I have really watched transcend a whole bunch of things. And I also watch you both whenever you struggle. And I really, yes, thank you, Alicia Lee, and you're rocking it. And when I see you guys struggle, I want you to know that in those very moments that I read those posts, or I see what's happening, I see a comment or something, I really do send you lots of healing and loving energy to really surround you, because sometimes in those moments it's less about talking so much about it and more just about sending you that healing energy, because sometimes when we talk about it, we'll energize that old stuff. So I mean, be very decisive about who you talk to about certain things. But I think venting in any arena, sometimes it just has to get outside of us for us to even be able to see it in a clearer way. So that's what we're talking about with worry here. In my life, even very recently, y'all have known that this past year, I mean, let's just throw the pandemic out of the equation. That was the easiest thing that has happened in my year, and still within this time. But I've had some of the greatest blessings of my life, with my wife coming back to me, breaking open that depressed state, and coming up and out of those medications that were keeping her basically as a zombie every day. Yes, she did have to have something very physically scary to jar her out of that, but that was her journey. That's her divine plan. And so, we've gotten to reconnect. We've come back together. I get to watch her grow, and we're learning how to relive our lives together. It was 7 years that she was in that place where she was trusting the doctors, and she was reaching outside of herself to help herself feel better, to work on these issues. And yet they were over prescribing her so much that she had no quality of life. And we were actually worried that every night I was going to wake up to find her no longer with us. And I'm going to use that. Okay, so I asked that I would be given a personal example that would really bring this message home. So during that time, I did a lot that people, family members, and friends and spouses of people that are in active addiction, I did a lot of those things that people do. They are very focused on the fire that is burning at hand, the addiction, the depression, the negative things that are happening in this person's life. And I stayed very connected with those things with her. I felt very desperate inside. All my fear was at the top. I'm scared to lose her. I'm scared she's going to do something irresponsible and burn our house down while we're sleeping. Or, I mean, just all these things. I stayed connected with that fear and worry. And I was so clutched with it that it just got worse. Where it started in that first year, I believe my worry and my total focus on everything I did not like about the situation actually was like throwing lighter fluid on it and kept her energy so locked up and blocked up. I tried everything that I knew to try. I tried blaming, I tried shaming. What's up, Brandy? Um, I tried begging, I tried pleading, I tried to explain how afraid I was. I tried to have our son talk to her. I did all that. Look what you're doing to your son. Let's just get better. All those things I knew didn't work. But when you yourself are in a desperate situation and you're so afraid, you will do those things that you don't want to do, the things that have even been done to you. And my worry grew this situation. And it wasn't until I started getting a hold of the same information that I'm giving you now that I was able to release her energy, realize that she is a human being with a higher power, that she has been given her own personal journey on this earth, that she's not just here for my pleasure or my peace, that it was not up to her to keep me happy. It was not up to her to give me peace in my life. It was not up to her to act right so I could feel right. If you can hear that. That I had to really release that I was not her higher power. And that yes, this situation hurt. And yes, there was fear involved. But where was the trust? I would give it over in prayer and energy. And then just as soon as I saw something that sparked and triggered those old feelings of fear within me, I'd yank it right back. Or I'd get mad. That's what happens when we worship outside of ourselves, is then we get mad. We give ourselves an excuse to get mad at someone. But then I started working on me. I took my worry away from the situation and I started asking myself questions like, why do I feel the need to be so in control? Why do I need my family to be right so I can feel right? Why can't I feel right regardless of what's going on with them? And it's not easy. It's not that you get to a point where you're not afraid. It's not where you think, because you love this person. And we have been taught, programmed, if you will, to believe that we are helping people we love when we worry about them. That our worry equals the depth of love that we have for someone. And I realized, because I signed up for a trauma, for a trauma coach, for I had trauma coaches with Amy Guerrero. And in that time, she kept bringing me back to me. Every time I'd start to go off on what she's doing and blah, 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 Amy would remind me, let's come back to you, because you have nothing to do with that. You cannot, has anything you've done thus far worked? So why keep going at it that way? Let's focus in on you. How is this making you feel? And let's talk about what's happening within you. And y'all, as I really started doing that, I watched my wife slowly but surely start to climb out of this awful, depressive, lonely place. Because in all that worry, I forgot what she was going through. I sincerely forgot to even consider the hell that she was in. Because I saw it like a lot of other people saw it. You did it to yourself. You decided to take those meds and you knew that they weren't good for you. That was where I was. And I was ashamed to be there, but it was a selfishness. You see, I was depending upon someone else to make me happy. I was also dealing with a lot of inferiority complex where I was saying, well, I can't make her happy. So what does that say about me? If you realize there was a lot of me in the situation wrapped in her. And I was stopping and blocking her healing to take place because I wanted it to go the way I wanted it to go. And when I went through that work, y'all, that's when she was able to be broken open. And I'm going to tell you, the night she had, watching her get to that place where she had that heart attack was, it was a battle, but it was that time where my tools had to be tested. My new tools had to be tested. I had to stand there and watch the ambulance hook her up with everything. I had to stand there and feel her heart beating. I could see it through her nightgown, her heart just beating. She was sweating, pouring sweat. Her face was just turning green. And I was just sitting there in that moment going, this could be it, but I know it's not. This is the moment that's going to break this open. And I had to work with my tools. But I can say that after that heart and me being more focused upon me and my own shit, not trying to run hers, she's fully awake for me now. She herself has actually worked herself off of all those medications that kept her in that place. Now, I'm not at all advocating that you all do it that way. I want you to do it in a way that is safe for you. And she did do it with the doctors, with our doctors' help in a lot of ways. But that moment scared her so bad that it broke her open to her own possibilities. And she is a new creation today, and she is a new human being today. And guess what? I am too, because I took that time to do the work on me. And so when I tell you that worry keeps you locked in that cycle of fear that brings what you fear the most back to you every single time, I'm not telling a story. And yes, it will be the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life to learn how to release that worry and live in a place of trust. Live in a place of knowing that as you take each next right step for you, what is in alignment with you, what feels right to you, miracles can happen in those moments. And you will get to that place where you're wanting to go. But don't think you're ever going to get to a place where life does not present you with things that you don't like, because that's the only way you can decide what you really want. That's how we're built. Know what you don't want, know what you really do want. So put your focus where you want today. Take your focus away from that thing you fear. Put it on just a vision of how you really want it to go, and let that old fear and worry just fall off itself. You don't have to hate it. You don't have to try to keep it away from you. Don't 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 try to work it out of your life. Let it just fall off by itself. Let it become a new neuro pathway for you, a new default program. And you can do that. I promise. If I can do it. Now listen, I see some stuff about medications, and listen. I want you guys to truly, if you are on medications that help you, I am absolutely not anti-medication. There are things that I am on every day that really help me be all that I can be. For her, she was very highly over medicated. There were doctors that were not qualified to be treating her in the capacity that they were treating her. They weren't really, they weren't communicating with one another. And at the time she had, at one point I counted, there were like almost 20 medications, and 13 of them all caused drowsiness. And she was just desperate to feel better. Her depression was taking her under, and she was desperate to feel better. And our old program it's programmed in us every day, whether you're paying attention or not. When you're on, when you have TV going in the background, how many pharmaceutical company commercials play and tell you you can be free from whatever it is if you take this pill, and then they come along real fast, real low, and tell you all the things that will happen to you while you're trying to become free of this one thing. So she was being cared for very irresponsibly, as well as she was still in that mind program that most of us, a lot of us are, because we don't know anything different, that the doctor knows best. And so if you have responsible doctors, and you may want to be off your medicines, because a lot of times we think that's the answer, do it safely, number one. And number two, make sure that you are being medically supervised, because some of these medications we don't know a lot about can become very dangerous if we just cold turkey quit them. She went through a lot of struggles in letting those things go, and she did not do it all at once. And she's a miracle to even be here, because one of them that she did do all at once, we found out later, was very, very dangerous to do. So I am not anti-meds. I am absolutely stay with your meds that are working. But if something doesn't feel right for you, do not be afraid to step to your doctor or care provider and say, I don't feel like this is in alignment with me. What can we do? And ask questions. Ask questions. Don't let them just decide, because they don't know what you're feeling. They only know what you tell them you're feeling, and they can't really feel you. So they'll start just throwing meds at it. And you remember that you are the going to take these meds, experience the adverse reactions, or whatever happens, either the good or the bad. You're experiencing that. So be educated. Educate yourself, and don't just trust any outside entity to take care of you. You are your best caretaker. You know you better than anyone other than your creator. So use what is in your arsenal right now for your body to try to work on your head and your heart and your root causes. When you get to a place where you feel strong enough to start letting some of these things go, talk to your medical provider, professionals, and do research yourself. I love you guys so much. I really do. And I want you guys to have the most amazing, worry-free, winning Wednesday of all time, because you are that powerful, and you do have all of the greatness within you to live a life that you love. So I will see y'all this Saturday night with my good friend Tiffany Werner, licensed mental health practitioner out of the state of Florida, and the beautiful host of the Moments of Clarity radio show and YouTube channel. She's going to be on with us, and a special friend of both of us is going to come on as well. And I can't wait for you guys to sit in on that. So that's Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as you know, we're always here for Winning Wednesday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're not already a subscriber of the YouTube channel, then run on over there and turn on that bell notification, hit that like button, that thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. I really love you guys, and thank you for allowing me to live my dreams. And I hope that something that I say can help you live yours. Y'all have the greatest day imaginable. I love you. See you soon.